So now I'm going to demonstrate to you another power band exercise which is fantastic for improving hip mobility. This was shown to me by a couple of strength and conditioning coaches, Martin Gervin and Todd Carlin from Elite Sports Performance in Spotswood, Melbourne. Both fantastic S&C coaches, and after watching them and then practicing this and trying this for myself, I found this to be very good in terms of helping improve that range of movement through the hips, so therefore translating better into improved squatting and lunging movements. But I've also found this to be actually quite a powerful tool or exercise to use in comparison to that of, say, a Thomas test stretch, or perhaps a kneeling hip flexor stretch, or a more dynamic lunge. So I'll show you guys what you need to do if you're going to look at trying this out. I've got a 41-inch black band here. Ideally we're going to find or get ourselves a band which is quite thick, because we're going to get the client to put the band nice and high up on the hip. So as you can see here, I've attached the band to a fixed point here. What we're wanting to do is we're going to get the client to stand up into the band. It's really important that we keep that band nice and flat and high up into that hip region. And what we're going to ask the client to do is just putting some tension through the hip there. We're going to see that we're going to have the client just sitting nice and upright, so we're keeping more the hip directly over the knee rather than that typical hip flexor stretch that we might try to do. And what we get is we're getting a backwards translation or pull from the band, creating a posterior shear of that of the actual femur, and this works nicely in terms of trying to open up that hip into greater sort of extension. So have the client in this position, hip over knee, get them to try and really tense through that glute so they're maintaining nice and controlled sort of positioning, and then ask them to hold that position for 1 to 2 minutes. Have them do this sort of every couple of days, and soon enough they'll find that they're really working to improve their hip extension and mobility. So if I wanted to look at how I might sort of again progress this exercise, have the client bring their arm up in the air and then lean over as you would in that more traditional hip flexor stretch. So that's position 1, posterior pull with the band. Position 2, have the client this time have the band nice and high up, where we're going to be having a more anterior pull with the band. Same positioning again, making sure they're nice and upright, where their hip is directly over their knee, holding this position. Have them tense the glute and have them hold that position for 1 to 2 minutes. It's actually really difficult, and the client might find this to be quite challenging, so we might need to either have a more lighter band or less resistance, or we might find that they need to move in closer towards the fixed point where it's attached to in order to have not so much pull. So that's sort of position 2 that we can work on. We can also work nicely in position 3, where we're going to be having a sort of lateral translational pull with the band and holding this position, making sure they hold that glute nice and tight. And then position 4, lastly, is where we're going to be having the band to create a more medial pull. So I'll come around here and show you from this position, but ideally the band is attached. You've got the foot sitting here, we're sitting out, so we've got the leg parallel to the pull of the band and holding this position. Have the client sitting nice and upright and being able to rest and hold that position. If they want to increase it, have them just go through some gentle range of movement here and then holding that position for anywhere between 1 to 2 minutes. So in essence, we've probably spent, having done the whole 4 exercises, a minute each is 4 minutes. If you do 2 minutes, 8 minutes on hip mobility exercises. So great tool to do on a daily basis if you're finding their client is quite tight through the hip flexors, or is just not perhaps getting that range on their squat and lunge. So again, this exercise is shown to me by Todd Carlin and Martin Gervin of Elite Sports Performance in Spotswood, and has been very useful how I've then been able to adapt this to the use with my clients on an everyday basis.